And what I want you to do is push the ground away. Not around your back, just push the ground away. Engage your upper body, okay? Pull your belly button in. So you're not gonna be like this. You're not gonna be like this. Flat. So if I wanted a horsey ride, if I want a backy ride, you're not gonna give me a saddle. You're gonna get flat. So I'm gonna have to work to stay on your back. Get it? So from this position, you're gonna take this leg and bring it forward, okay? Is that a running position? There we go. So all we did was just break it down. Now, I'm not gonna, well, I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm actually teaching you to do some other movements now, but we're just gonna work on the deep squat. That's all I want you to think about. So in this position, you're gonna feel it loaded here, right? You may feel a little bit of load here. Then from that position, I want you to get here, this hand up, that hand up. Then from here, I just want you to stand. Yeah, your feet are gonna be a little bit wider, but what you're doing is mastering the movement. So you're taking a body that's not necessarily aware of what it's doing, when it's doing it, how it's supposed to doing it, and you're just educating your body, all right? So if I couldn't read, would you give me Dr. Seuss to read, or would you give me an encyclopedia?
Dr. Seuss.
I can master reading, then I can make it more difficult, right? So again, here, and you can alternate which leg comes forward first, and you do 10 of these, all right? If you start, I want you to start your day with 10 of these. Every day. It actually is going to help you move a little bit better. You know, the days after running where you're kind of a little bit sore, it's going to help. All right? So again, push the ground away. No saddle. Okay? Flat. Step. Step. I'm going to reach up. I'm going to reach up. And I'm going to stand. All right? Perfect. Any questions? I want to get to a neutral spine, okay? So neutral spine, I want my hamstrings to turn off. Hamstrings are nosy. You don't want them to be part of this conversation, okay? You want your glutes to dominate this conversation. So again, neutral spine, and then I'm going to bridge up, okay? All right, so my back is not arched that way. So neutral spine, I'm going to bridge up, but then what I want to do is bring both knees apart. Come back, just to the left knee, come back, just the right knee, come back, and then control myself down. That's one, okay? So I want you to do, that's one cycle. I want you to do 6 cycles. So if you do 2 to 3 sets of those 6 cycles, it's great. Now, if you feel like your hamstrings are firing, let's take away just the bridge with the hip abduction. Just work on both apart, just the right, just the left, okay? Now, when you add the bridge, just work on, again, get neutral, squeeze the glutes. You got fire the glutes, and bridge up. Again, if you want to feel like your hamstrings stay relaxed, just tap them and say, turn off, turn off, turn off. Okay, you want them to be as relaxed at the top as they are down here. Make sense? Perfect. Going here, we're going to try to stay a little cleaner. Load there. And back up, so you're not going to round. You're going to go here. You can let your knees bend if you're really tight, and then drive back up. So I want you to get good alignment. Once you get back to the top, you should be stacked. Head, shoulders, hips, knees, ankle. You shouldn't be too far forward, you shouldn't be too far back, or your hips shouldn't be here and the rest of you back there somewhere. Make sense?
So I'm using a cushion. You can use a throw pillow at home, whatever you like. Just make sure it's soft enough that it doesn't hurt your knee, right? Like Kenny was talking about with alignment. Alignment always comes first. We want a straight line from the knee to the hip, to the shoulder, to the ear. He talked a lot about neutral spine, right? And neutral pelvis. If my pelvis were a bowl of water, I don't want the water to spill out the front, and I don't want the water to spill out the back. I want the water to stay inside, right? So I'm here in this position. I've got my front foot directly in front of my hip. I've got my alignment. I've got my pelvis so the water's not spilling out. And I'm gonna squeeze my glute in the back until I feel the stretch in the front of my hip. and that's your hip flexor stretch. It's important to do it in this neutral position, right? So we get the right mobility. You'll see a lot of people stretch their hip flexors out like this, right? But they're no longer stretching hip extension because they're not controlling the position of their pelvis. Their pelvis is dipping forward, they're hyperextending their spine. They're getting all that mobility the places where they're already mobile. But if we can bring everything to neutral and really squeeze and only think about driving the knee back, that's going to isolate that hip flexor and mobilize our hips into extension. Hip extension, very important for runners. I was talking hip flexion, right? One of the main limiters in adequate hip flexion is going to be your hamstring length, right? So this is a very simple hamstring sequence. You can do it with a towel or a belt. Here I'm using a yoga strap today. It's a two-part exercise. We've got you flat on your back. The active leg, we're going to bring it up to 90 degrees to the body. So it's perpendicular to the floor. My non-active leg, I've got my toes aimed straight up towards the ceiling. If I let my foot fall out here, I'm rotated and out of neutral. So I want neutral here, 90 degrees here. I'm going to hold my towel or my belt or my yoga strap. I'm going to take in a breath, and on the exhale, try to straighten that leg out towards the ceiling. Just trying to get to 90 degrees. Now, if you can only get to right here and it's tight and it's pulling, great, that's fine. Work on that, right? About 10 repetitions here. Now, if you're very loose, you may not need to work on this one. So if you can throw your leg up and it comes back over your head and you don't feel a stretch, or you have to get past 90 degrees to get that stretch, don't even worry with this one. If you've got 90 degrees like I've got here, that's plenty. That's all you need. It's functional, right? Once you start getting so much mobility that you can get way back and back, you're going to cause more problems than you're doing good. So that exercise kind of flosses the hamstring. It activates the quads and gets the hamstring ready for a little more static stretch. So same idea, we're still working on hip flexion, still going to stop at 90 degrees. Now I'm going into a straight leg raise pattern. This adds a little more of a stability challenge for the core, so we're working a little bit of abs. We're going to raise the leg on its own as high as you can take it, and then just give a little bit of assistance to get that extra little bit, and then control it on the way back down. So lift the leg on its own, give it a little tug, and then back down. And the whole time I'm still controlling the straight leg on the floor. If any of y'all had tight muscles in your hips and the glute area since you've been running, like kind of just that fire poker kind of feeling back here. So this will address that, right? This will open up your hips into external rotation. So the figure 4 crossover, you lie on your back, you cross one foot over the opposite knee, and then we're going to pull that knee up and grab it. And here I'm feeling the stretch on my right glute over on this side. So I'm going to hold here, say 5 or 6 breaths. When we're holding stretches, I don't like to just watch the clock. I like to count breaths. Because if you're holding a stretch and it's causing you to hold your breath, your body's tensing up and it's not going to allow you to gain more mobility. You have to be able to relax in the positions that you're trying to get to. If you're not able to relax, you're trying to push it too far. So I like to hold all these stretches for 5 or 6 deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So let's say I'm really tight and I can't get into this position. I'm trying to reach, but it just won't do it. This knee's coming up here. I can do this same stretch sitting in a chair. Just like you're sitting You can sit up tall. You're almost there, right? Just sit up tall, cross your foot over your knee, and kind of press down on that knee. And the taller you sit, the better.